on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, in Disney.
Well, another Saturday night. Here it is, 9/11. And we're glad you're with us tonight. We've got a lot to talk about, so by all means, stay with us. Well, welcome in, everyone. Welcome in to Six Screens JW World News. Why, we are so glad to have you with us here tonight. Well, it's 9/11. You've been seeing it on TV. Terrible day in the history of America 20 years ago. We'll be talking about that tonight. Now, condolences for all of those that have lost loved ones in that national tragedy. It was terrible. And it's been highlighted all day long, actually all week long. And it brought back a lot of memories. I know you guys kind of remember where you were when all that was going on. But I wanted to talk about that tonight, and we will. We have a number of other stories we'll be getting to as well. But anyways, my name is Rick Fearon. I'm coming to you from the epicenter of apostasy. That's right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And we're so glad that we have a lot of apostates up here. I don't know why, but it seemed like the northeastern part of the United States got the most apostates first. Not that anybody was in a game or anything, but we do have a lot of apostates up here. And if you're worried about no apostates in an area where you live, well, don't worry too much. There's going to be many more apostates coming to a city where you live. I'm telling you right now, many people are leaving the Watchtower. We've been doing this program now for 16 years. We never missed a Saturday night. And I have to tell you, I have never seen such a mass exodus in the Watchtower. I mean, people have been getting out for many years, but all of a sudden, things are really happening, friends. So by all means, stay in here with us tonight. If you're just listening in for the first time and you're an active Jehovah's Witness, don't head for the mountains. Don't head for the mountains. Stay with us tonight. And anything we say, just research it. If you don't think, maybe you say, oh, that Fearon, he just sits there bloviating and those crazy people calling him, they don't know what they're talking about. Well, anything that's said here on the Six Screens, research it. Research it. I've been waiting for a certified letter to come from Watchtower to stop me for saying erroneous things. I've been waiting 16 years. Haven't got it yet. They know we're telling the truth. And anytime the governing body or any officials of the Watchtower want to come on our program here, they're certainly invited. Hey, that might happen. That might happen soon. Wouldn't that be something? So anyways, let's talk about what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, like I say, it was 9/11 today, 20 years ago. You guys know it was a big day in American history. It was a terrible day in American history. I can remember where I was. You can remember where you were. There's not a whole lot of events in life where you can remember so vividly when something shocking like that on 9/11, when those planes crashed into the Twin Towers. That was a shocking event. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that tonight. And I know where I was. I'm going to just briefly say I was outside and getting ready to go to work. And my former wife, Inez, yelled out the window. She said, Rick, something's going on. I'm not sure what. She was watching the Today Show. And she said, something's going on. I'm not sure what's happening. It looks like, I don't know if it's a trailer for a movie or whether this is real. It didn't seem real to her. So I came running in, and sure enough, we watched it. We couldn't get our minds off what was going on. It was sad. I mean, we had the terrible emotions and what's going on. Of course, at the time, I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, wiggling my way loose, as well as my wife. And of course, we were saying, man, the witnesses are really going to take this one to the bank. They are going to say that's Armageddon coming right around the corner. Now, the strange thing is while we were watching TV, we got a knock at the door. And the witnesses just happened to be doing the territory. It was a Tuesday, and they were up in my neck of the neighborhood witnessing, and they were knocking on doors. And of course, all the people that they were knocking on the doors were telling them that, there's a tragedy in New York. So they came to my house to watch it. So we must have had a half a dozen, maybe 8 witnesses come in, the 2 car groups, and they came in to see what was going on. And I can still remember one witness that was so gung-ho Jehovah's Witness, very loyal witness. Oh, she was coming in gloating. Here we have a national tragedy, people dying. In fact, at that point, they did not even know how many were dead. They were thinking perhaps 11 or 12,000. And she's talking about, wow, this is going to be great for the witnessing work. Aren't you glad they came out with a magazine on terrorism just a few months ago? Can you imagine that? That's the thing that was on her mind. Wow, we're going to get a lot of Bible studies. Well, you know where you were. That's where I was. The witnesses came in. They were viewing it. And then, of course, it was a Tuesday night. And from what I can remember, I went to the meeting. They didn't cancel it. As a matter of fact, the meetings were to go forward as normal. And from what I can remember, everyone was there that night. And other people are writing online too. They had a meeting and everyone came. Everyone was scared to death. Is this Armageddon? Is this going to happen very soon? Is it right around the corner? Well, anyways, they were all there at the meeting when I went, as well as other people writing online. In fact, some were saying that Kingdom Hall was packed on 9/11. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, so many of them really did think that was it. This is the end. Well, we saw so many inactive ones come back too. Boy, ones that haven't come to the meeting for many years. They all came back to the meetings on 9/11 and even after 9/11. And they came. And I know there was even one brother in our hall that was somewhat inactive. He didn't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. But when 9/11 came, boy, I'll tell you, he was sitting right up there listening to everything. He was there at the meeting. He didn't want to leave now. He thought Armageddon was right around the corner. So as I say, inactive ones showed up. In fact, even disfellowship ones that were disfellowshipped, and they didn't come to the meetings. They started coming back to the meetings at 9/11, and they wanted to start working toward reinstatement. Well, maybe you have a lot of stories to share on that too, but I'm going to tell you, there's many conflicting reports that have come out of Bethel. Now, I know on numerous occasions, we talked about it here on the 6 screens. We talked about how Bethel was in lockdown. We talked about how they didn't want to do anything for the poor people coming over the bridge. But there's conflicting reports, and we're going to talk about 2 sides of the story. Now, I don't know if anyone caught this or not, but up in Burlington, Washington State, there was a couple who were Bethelites back then on 9/11, 2001. And they were Bethelites. They're not Bethelites now, but they actually did a report in a newspaper in Washington State. And they were living in New York City and living in Bethel the day the 9/11 attacks hit. Now, I'm going to read you from the story. I got the newspaper right in front of me, and I'm going to read you the story. And, there's something about this story that doesn't pass the smell test. Well, you listen to it, then we'll commenting on it. But I have to tell you, there's 2 sides to every story. But I'm going to have you listen to this. It sounds really good. It's a puff piece. It's a puff piece for the Watchtower. Believe me. But let me just listen to it. I don't want to prejudge it. I don't want you to prejudge it. I want you just to listen. Michael and Rosie Robbins of Burlington, Washington, were living in New York City on September 11th, 2001. Well, they were Bethelites, husband and wife living together in Bethel. At the time, the couple were living and working in Brooklyn Heights, across from the Brooklyn Bridge from Manhattan's financial district where the World Trade Center was located. Uh, that morning seemed normal. Michael Robbins said to one of his co-workers that, boy, looks like there's smoke beginning to billow out of the World Trade Center north. He started seeing smoke. He was looking out the window. And if you're in Bethel, Brooklyn Heights, New York, you can look out the window toward Manhattan. And that's what he was doing. He saw smoke coming out of the North Tower. Well, brother Michael, doesn't say brother, but I'll add Michael. Brother Michael Robbins was working and living in the 30-story 90 Sands building, the now former headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses. So he headed up higher in the building to see, up to the top of the building to see more on what was going on at the World Trade Centers. And then when he was looking out the window, the second plane hit the South Tower. Not knowing what was going on and whether the building that he was in, the Bethel building, not knowing that might be the next building to be hit, Robbins went to the ground floor and announced for all the building residents and workers to evacuate the top upper levels of the building and come down to the lobby. Now, about a mile away, his wife, Rosie, sister Bethelite, she saw the billowing tower, the smoke coming out of the tower, and she was worried for her husband. She ran home. Usually it was like a 45-minute walk. She got home in 15 minutes. She ran back to Bethel. And she wanted to see what was going on and make sure her husband and the Bethelites were all right. Well, Sister Rosie Robin arrived home at the Bethel building in time to see the second plane hit the building. So she saw that too. It just went straight through the building. She said it was a scary feeling, not knowing what was going on. She got in the building and she realized that her husband, Michael, was safe. So Rosie Robbins headed to the 17th floor where she lived in this building at Bethel. And she wanted to make sure all of her family, Bethelite family, were all right and safe. And they were. Looking out her window, which faced the direction of the towers, Rosie saw the first building fall with ashes and debris filling the air and even making their way to their building. So the ashes and the smoke and the dust, that all made it over to Brooklyn Bethel. It wasn't too far away. I'm going to put a picture up here so you guys can see it of the day that happened at Watchtower, and you'll see it. So Rosie, the sister, she was saying, wow, I feel like it's some type of a movie. It didn't seem real. It was surreal. So now this is where I think it gets a little bit fluffy. This is where I think there's some embellishment, or maybe the whole story isn't being told. So she says, as they and their neighbors, the Bethelites, waited in the lobby, those trying to escape the devastation of what would become known as Ground Zero began to flee. So all those from the Trade Center, all the subways were closed, all the buses weren't running. The only way out of there was the Brooklyn Bridge. And what's right next to the Brooklyn Bridge? Well, that, of course, is Watchtower. So as all of these people covered with ashes were crossing the Brooklyn Bridge and into, she claims they came into the lobby where she was there in Watchtower. They were covered with dust and ash. They had missing shoes and clothing. They were all in shock. They came into our lobby as a refuge. I'm not sure I'm buying this, Rosie. They came into the lobby as a refuge. Sister Rosie Robbins says it was shocking to see. They were just covered head to toe in ashes. Now, she goes on to say, in order to help, the Jehovah's Witness organization fired up its kitchens, providing those seeking refuge, whether they were Jehovah's Witnesses or not, with coffee and water. With the cell towers on top of the World Trade Center out of commission, I mean, the two buildings went down, they had cell towers, they're out of commission. People struggled to get in touch with their loved ones, and they didn't have their cell phones. Many didn't even have access to the numbers they wanted to call. One big problem was people didn't know how to get in touch with their families, Brother Michael Robbins said. So, armed with landlines and phone books, the Robinsons and their fellow Jehovah's Witness Bethelites rushed to help. We saw the need and went into action, Sister Robbins said. There was no thinking twice. With chaos all around them and information about what was happening just beginning to get out, the Robinsons said they relied on their faith to help others. Well, this is an account from two Bethelites that were there at Bethel 9/11. It says, and they said it was a comfort for us to engage in our ministry. Brother Michael Robbins said, when you give hope to others, you become more hopeful yourself. Well, Brother Robbins was right with that. Now, whether it was providing clothing, a place to stay, or comfort in scripture, the Robinsons said they did what they could to help others in need. We were helping them to calm down, Rosie Robbins said. It was such a chaotic situation. They felt secure to be able to help them. It was our desire. It was our desire to help the people. We just needed to help them. Now, today, the couple said there's many similarities between that day and COVID pandemic 19. I just wanted to, first of all, I want to say this. I read you the story. Now, this is what I want to say. Now, if that actually happened, and those poor people that were fleeing New York over the Brooklyn Bridge, if they did indeed go into the lobby of Watchtower and they were offered food and they fired up the kitchen and they gave them the necessary needs to fulfill their role at that day, I'm going to say I applaud the Watchtower if it happened. But I don't know if I can totally compliment the Watchtower, because there's so many different stories on this. Now, did the organization open its doors? Well, I guess perhaps after some backlash, they opened it somewhat, probably after most of the people got away from Brooklyn. But from what we understand and what I get information coming in from various Bethelites here, is they actually locked the doors, not allowing anyone in. After all, you can't have worldly people come inside the Lord's house covered with ashes. Later, they realized it wasn't going to look good for them, locking the doors, letting all these poor people wander around in a state of confusion. So some say at Bethel that they opened the doors selectively. Some doors they did open. But did they fire up the kitchens? Did they really go out of their way to help these worldly people? Now, the Bethelites were told to stay inside the building. As a matter of fact, they were told to return to normal, to work, go back to work in normal. In fact, there was one man, he was working in the printing department, and, all the Bethelites ran over to the window looking down at Manhattan, and there they could see the buildings being hit by the planes. And the brother said, "Get away from the window." The supervisor said, "Get away from the window. Get back to work. There's nothing to see here." So can you imagine that? Nothing to see here? I mean, get away. Don't even look. Friends, you had to look. This was an experience that was shocking people. So, I don't know. Conflicting reports coming in. Yeah, some say there definitely was help by Watchtower. Others say no help at all. So I remember a few days after 9/11, and this is what really solidifies my thinking. This is why I can come on here with an open mind tonight and tell you the way I think about it. Because I think that story by the Robinsons, I don't believe it. I really, really don't. I think that's a puff story, and I'm going to tell you why. I called the Watchtower a few days after this happened. I was reading the New York Times, and in the New York Times, I think it was on the front page of the New York Times, they had Christian ministries. They had pictures of Christian ministries at Ground Zero with tables set up, and they were handing out water and necessary little food and what have you to help the first responders, to help the people that were just walking around in a daze. Christian ministries were there. They were trying to help the people, the responders mostly. Now, what I asked to speak to someone at Watchtower. They put me in touch with a Watchtower lawyer. So when I got in touch with the lawyer at Watchtower, I said, now, brother, I want to know, I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm very concerned with what's going on in New York, Ground Zero, all the poor people, the first responders. Is there any help? You guys are only like maybe a mile and a half, 2 miles away. Is there any help that you're giving to the responders? Well, he said, well, Brother Fearon, we have 12, it was either 11 or 12, but I think it was 12 elders going down there tomorrow, and we're arming them with the best watchtowers that we have, the one on terrorism, and they're going to help all those poor people down by Ground Zero to try to understand what happened, and there could be hope. And also, Brother Fearon, we also let them use some shovels and some picks that we had here at Bethel. And that was it. Now, if they opened up the lobby and they fired up the kitchen, wouldn't that have been the first thing that lawyer would have told me? Of course it would have been. But he says, well, we're going to send them down with some Watchtower magazines. He was saying they need spiritual food. And, that to me, it didn't settle right. They didn't need spiritual food right now. They needed help as humans need when they're busting their butts trying to help people. So that's my feelings on that. What's your feelings? Well, what were you doing on 9/11? And where were you? What did you think? Come on in with us. Yeah. Yes, Anne-Marie.
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to college at the time, and when it came across in the student center, I was watching TV and it came across what was going on. Well, what bothers me about the Watchtower is they talk about spiritual food, and we remember that when Jesus was on the mountain of Olives and he was going to give his big sermon, before he made sure everybody had food. Remember how he did the miraculous thing with the loaves and the fishes, and when they collected all the food left over, which meant everybody was well fed and satisfied, there was a lot left over. Then he's teaching the people. He made sure that their physical needs were satisfied before the spiritual need. Isn't that interesting? And the other thing that jumped out at me that you said is you said the brothers said they're offering the people the use of their shovels and pickaxes. They're not willing to put on their big boy overalls and go out there and help anyone do some work. No, they think they're doing good because they're offering the use of some of their tools. That's a shame. Thank you, Rick.
Well, Anne-Marie, I wasn't thinking of that. See, you add a different tapestry to this. I can see something here that is correct. They had all these young brothers there and printing magazines. They could have stopped the press. Why don't you brothers go down and help? Can you imagine what a great PR story that would have been? Our neighbors, the Watchtower, sent 1,000 young brothers down to help clean things up. My goodness, these people would still be talking about that today. They missed it.
They would, because the brothers that would work for Bethel, they would have done their best. They would have really made the Watchtower look good. This is how selfish and narrow-minded Watchtower really is. They don't even see the opportunity that helping others would bring for them and for their benefit. Instead, they portrayed so openly, but not meaning to, how very selfish and unchristian they are when they were told, the workers were told, shut up all the doors, lock the doors, close all the windows. They only went and offered water and blankets and whatever when it was reported over the live news stream that Jehovah's organization, Christians, weren't even offering any help. Thank you so much, Rick.
Well, you're very welcome, Anne-Marie. You're very welcome. Boy, I'll tell you what, when you hear stories like that, it really does. It just makes you want to puke when you think about it. But other things I wanted to bring up too was the fact that, as I just said before you came in, that they could have really got a lot of press on this. My goodness, they could have really got the world thinking how wonderful the Jehovah's Witnesses are. I have got a picture up right now. If you're on Facebook, you can see it on Facebook and also YouTube and our video suite. We have a picture up, a beautiful picture that was taken from Brooklyn Heights. You can see the watchtower there in the foreground. And then if you look to the right, you can see the two twin towers while they were still standing, but smoking. It's really a great picture. I'm not sure who took it, but I have to say, I think it's a wonderful picture. You can see how close Brooklyn, Bethel was to where the towers were, just across the river. You can see it right there. I believe that is the East River. Yep. And right across the river, there's the Twin Towers smoking, and there's Watchtower, and they had to come across the Brooklyn Bridge. And as a matter of fact, that picture, I believe, was taken from the Brooklyn Bridge. So you can see the proximity and how close it was. Well, it was just amazing that Watchtower really missed a great way to get a lot of really good publicity. Hey, if you're on with us, go ahead. We'd like to hear from you. Go ahead.
Hey, Rick.
Yes, Randy.
I wanted to say this morning at the time when they had that memorial and they had the family members reading the names of their loved ones that died, and it was so heartbreaking. I mean, that they hear them say how now they have maybe grandchildren that they never got to see, or children and what they've grown up and what they've done, things they've missed out on. That made me so much think how Watchtower actually has killed off so many of its family members or loved ones to making them being shunned. I mean, so many of us have grandchildren that don't even know us, never have met us. I mean, there's just no difference than those there. I mean, I honestly feel Watchtower is a terrorist, their organization, by doing that, by ripping apart families. I mean, that's the same as those terrorists did, was taking the families away, so they could never see their family grow, their children grow up. Some of them followed in the same line, become firefighters and such like that. But some of them had grandchildren that they never got to see.
Randy, it's sad. It's very, very sad. Well, good to hear from you. Thank you, Randy. We got Shirley coming in from New York. Shirley from New York City. Go ahead.
Yeah, two things, Rick. I remember when it happened, although I wasn't attending the meetings then. My mom, the elder in her congregation was a Bethelite. He and his wife used to travel from Queens to Brooklyn. Now that discrepancy about Bethel helped, they handed out water or they didn't. I mean, what's the deal? Did they help and then shut the doors? What is the exact story about that?
Yeah, well, that's what we're trying to decipher. There's two stories. On one hand, they say it was locked down. And then I just read an article that was printed 2 days ago in the Washington newspaper saying how there's a couple who's a Bethelites. They live out there, and they were there at 9/11. They said they opened up the lobby and people came in and, they helped them out. And they fired up the kitchens and we're going to feed them all. But I never heard about that before.
I don't believe that firing up the kitchens. I definitely don't believe that. But like I said, the elder in my mother's congregation in Queens used to travel back and forth. They were very nice, by the way. I met them a few times. But anyway, because, I was an unbeliever. She was a believer. Said, oh, yeah, they helped out because they handed out water and stuff. But then you hear this other story. At a certain point, maybe they did. But then at a certain point, did they not shut the doors? Lock the door? I've heard that, so... hand out water and then something happened. I don't know. I guess in a sec, I have no idea what the timeline is. So, they locked the doors. I've heard that definitely too. So, they have to make up their mind about what they did. What did they do? I definitely don't believe, like Ricky's saying, what they fired up the kitchen. No, that one I'm not buying.
Well, let's just stop.
I think that they had the ex-elders, ex-Bethelites I spoke to, I think in 2002, 2003. I think it was 2002. They would have said that because they had recently left Bethel and they had been at Bethel when the Twin Towers were attacked. And he said the one that mostly did all the talking, the other two were mostly shaking their head, saying, yeah, that's the way it was, and kind of hanging their head in shame. But the one that did the most talking, he said in the beginning, a lot of the Bethelites were kind of mocking the people that were running and screaming and so scared, like, ha ha, Armageddon's here, you're going to all be destroyed. And then they were told, everybody get in, close all the windows, lock all the doors. And from what he told me, he said when the people were just straggling across the Brooklyn Bridge, kind of like in a daze, it was horribly hot. A lot of people don't realize how horribly hot and humid it was. So
I remember that day. Yeah, it definitely was. Yeah.
So they're not only in mental and emotional shock, and they're covered. He said they were just covered with this gray, dusty stuff, and they're just kind of straggling across the bridge, hundreds and hundreds of them, and a lot of film crews were following them, and they were commenting on, what's going on, what they're seeing, how these people are just so traumatized. And as they're going, past Brooklyn headquarters for Watchtower, it was live streaming on the news, and they were saying, here's God's organization. You're supposed to be Christian. They're always talking about how they love their neighbors, and yet they're not. Nobody representing this religion is out here offering any kind of comfort, not a kind word, a glass of water, a bottle, whatever. So the guy who was telling me all of this at this where I met him, he said that then when it came across, and then they realized, the leaders, whoever the supervisors were, they don't want us to look bad. So then he said they were ordered to go get spare blankets and bottled water, and I don't know if they had anything else. Now, if they went from there further, that's all I heard he said that they were ordered to do. I didn't hear anybody about offering food or firing up any kitchen, but I'm just saying that's what I was told to my face by Bethelites who had left. Thank you.
Yeah, well,
Joey,
yeah, Chewy, what do you want to say?
I have a friend. I think he's still there. I haven't heard whether he's left or not, but he was actually a roommate of mine, and he works in the service department, or worked in the service department. It's been about 7 years. I saw him in Dallas at the International Convention in 2014, and we were roommates. And I called him the day that it happened, and he didn't say anything about giving blankets out or nothing like that. And he actually worked in the service department at the time. I don't know where he works at now, but he didn't say anything about giving in nothing to anybody. And I said, "What'd y'all do?" He said, "Oh, we shut the door." And I said, "Oh, really?" Oh, okay. Anyway, that's what he told me. And that was from a guy from the service department. And they actually watched it. I don't know what floor the service department was on then, but they actually watched it. They said he saw people falling. He said it was horrific. He said they saw people falling from the towers and everything else across there because they had a bird's eye view, so to speak. They were right there. So, but he didn't say anything about helping anybody or nothing. They shut the doors.
Well, thank you for weighing in, Chewy, and let's go to Lawrence, Kansas. You're on with us.
Yeah, this is Thomas Hodgson here from Lawrence, Kansas. What I had in mind was I wouldn't be surprised if they really did go into complete lockdown. I really believe they did because I've heard that a number of times. And I think a lot of the reason why the Watchtower did that is because they knew that if those people would go out there and start showing love and helping these ones, they might kind of snap out of this hypnotic mind control state of mind. And they're probably afraid that a number of the Jehovah's Witnesses would start leaving the organization and start having more doubts about the so-called love that they have there. So I really feel the Watchtower would definitely do that to try to benefit themselves and keep people trapped for many years, So that's my feelings on it. And I feel too that the Watchtower, they don't want them to get too close to worldly people because again they may start having more doubts about the organization. This would be a good time for a lot of them to get out because they can really see it. There's really no genuine love, and they don't want them to see the real love that people have for one another. They want to keep them in a isolated state. That's what I feel.
Well, I kind of agree with you, in fact, Thomas. In fact, Anne-Marie said something, though, that got me thinking. There was film crews that were walking along over the bridge with those people coming out of the trade center. They were walking over the bridge with them. And, if the Watchtower did indeed invite them in and fire up the kitchens and do all the things they're saying in this newspaper report out of Washington, then the news media would have filmed it Geez, they would have shown the headquarters and the Watchtower did this and what great people the Jehovah's Witnesses were. I didn't hear any of that. I didn't hear any of it. It never happened, evidently, because the Watchtower would have took full advantage of that. What were they thinking? What a great PR event that could have been. Boy, they could have got the whole world talking to how wonderful Jehovah's Witnesses are. They missed it. They missed it, like they missed a lot of things. I'm not sure these guys got their head on straight. I know definitely now they don't, but I thought they were a little more on the ball back 20 years ago, but evidently they weren't. Well, thank you. My goodness, we had a lot of comments on that. While you're on JW World News, that's the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about, but we talk about it. We don't mind talking about it, and we talk about it every Saturday night, every other Sunday, and we'll be doing it tomorrow on 6 Green Sunday, beginning at 1 o'clock. So by all means, check it out, 6 Green Sunday. Wow, I have to tell you, we're never stuck for critical news in the Watchtower. There's always something that's going on. Boy, at one time there wasn't. I can remember 16 years ago we had news, but not like the news we're covering today. But how about that lawsuit? How about the lawsuit that's coming out of New York right now? And we talked about the New York Child Victims Act. That was brought up about 2 years ago. And what they said concerning sexual child abuse in religions and organizations, and they said this a couple of years ago, if you were abused in the state of New York, and it could have been even 50 years ago, if you have a case of abuse, they gave you 2 years, I believe it was, to come forth. They had a window open where you could come forth and you could make a suit against whoever the perpetrators were. So under the Child Care Victims Act of New York, 29 cases came forward, cases concerning sexual abuse, not all in the Watchtower, but some were in the Watchtower. And one of them got my attention. There was a court transcript that I did read concerning, in fact, it came across this week, concerning a suit, and they are claiming that a governing body member did nothing about her abuse. So this was all over the news this week. I'm going to read you some of it. I won't read it all to you, but I'm just going to give you a little idea. This was a heinous act of abuse. It was disgusting. It was sickening. It's in the court records. In fact, I'll read it to you. The plaintiff, of course, is the victim in this case, and she's suing the Watchtower, who are the defendants. But the plaintiff was raised as a member of the Jehovah's Witnesses. She primarily attended meetings at various congregations in Arizona. Plaintiff became a pioneer at approximately in 1987 or 1988. The plaintiff's stepfather, William Briggs, was employed by the Watchtower and governing body to produce videos at Bethel. Due to his position, the plaintiff and her family split their time between Arizona and New York. The plaintiff and her family would spend 3 months in New York, where they lived at Bethel, then return to Arizona for 1 month, and then go back to New York for 3 months, and so on and so forth. The Watchtower and the governing body assigned Elder Ted Adams as Briggs' overseer while he was at Bethel. So just to break it down, I want you to remember the name Briggs. There's a plaintiff. She's coming forward. She's suing the Watchtower, and you'll hear why she's suing them. Her mother and her stepfather would go to New York every 3 months and go back to Arizona. She was a young girl at the time, but she would go to New York with them. So they would go to New York because Brother Briggs was working on their videos and what have you. Now, from approximately 1982 to 1988, when the plaintiff was approximately 10 to 16 years old, the plaintiff suffered horrific sexual abuse by Briggs, Brother Briggs, her stepfather. The sexual abuse occurred 3 to 5 times per week and included, but was not limited to sodomy, rape, forced oral copulation, and Briggs actually urinating in the plaintiff's mouth. I know that's disgusting. I hate to even say it, but I'm just reading the transcript. Terrible. Now, while at Bethel, the plaintiff was assigned to work various jobs. This is the young girl that was being raped by her stepfather. She had various jobs she had at Bethel, including assisting with video production, working in the laundry facility, and as an elevator operator. While at Bethel, plaintiff, the girl, was assigned by the Watchtower and governing body to live in the same room as her mother and Briggs. Well, Briggs was married to the girl's mother, and he was the girl's stepfather. Now, at all times relevant, the plaintiff's mother suffered from alcoholism. While plaintiff's family was living at Bethel, plaintiff's mother would frequently consume alcohol to the point of incapacitation. Once she was incapacitated, Briggs would sexually abuse the plaintiff in their room at Bethel. Stop right there. Friends, Bethel is more corrupt than you think. And we've had Johnny the Bethelite. He came on, he told these stories 10, 12 years ago. No one believed him. Oh, that doesn't go on at Bethel. Rick is just saying this. It's trying to promote his website. He's trying to be sensationalistic. I'm not sensationalistic, friends. This has been going on. There's all kinds of problems at Bethel. Now, here it is in a transcript from the state of New York. You're reading it for yourself. The mother was an alcoholic. The father was a sex perverted pedophile, and he was raping and doing all kinds of nasty things to his stepdaughter while his mother was asleep from alcoholism. That goes on at Bethel, I'm telling you. In approximately 1986, the plaintiff, the girl, reported her sexual abuse to Michael Filler, an elder who worked at Bethel. Mr. Filler did nothing in response. So she went to him, hey, this man's raping me. He's doing nasty things to me. Now, Briggs, the stepfather, is sexual abuse of, now they're naming the woman's name here, Hines, which was her name is Hines. Briggs' sexual abuse of Hines continued at Bethel after Hines' report to Mr. Filler. So the girl goes, she tells an elder at Bethel, I'm being raped, I'm being sodomized, everything I can think of this guy's doing to me. He does nothing. A couple of weeks after reporting to Mr. Filler, the plaintiff, Hines, reported her abuse to Ted Adams, an elder at Bethel, the overseer of all video projects at Bethel, and the elder who Watchtower and governing body assigned to oversee Briggs. So this was their elder. Ted was their elder here, and consequently, Ted Adams just overlooked it too. He didn't do anything to help the poor girl. So there's 2 elders, count them, 1, 2, that did nothing when the girl came and said, hey, I got problems. Now we go again. The plaintiff then reported her abuse to Mr. Underwood, another elder at Bethel, an overseer of the international construction work at Bethel. Mr. Underwood, elder brother Underwood, he did nothing. That's 3 elders now did nothing. So Briggs, stepfather Briggs, brother Briggs, he kept sexually abusing Hines, and he continued to do this, and nobody was doing anything to help the poor girl. Now, this is where it gets spicy. This is where it gets spicy, and this could be monumental problems for the Watchtower organization. Listen to this. You got to listen to this. The plaintiff, the girl who was being sexually abused, she then went to Jack Barr. He was an elder and at the time a member of the governing body. Mr. Barr told the plaintiff that he would relay her report to the entire governing body. Briggs' sexual abuse of Hines continued at Bethel after Hines reported it to Mr. Barr. Now, isn't that something? And then after a week or so went by, Barr informed the plaintiff that the governing body had taken care of it, that she should be privileged to have the experiences at Bethel that she had, and that Briggs was too important to be disciplined because of his role of creating videos at Bethel. So, friends, this goes on, but I just want to say something. This is a governing body member. Now, some people, they're looking at this, they're saying, well, this might not go anywhere. I think this one has legs. I think this lawsuit is going to do some serious damage to the Watchtower. And the reason why I say we now have a governing body member that's aware of it, and he did nothing. And we have 3 elders, nothing. Now, who's taken this lawsuit on? Irwin Zalkin Law Firm. This is not a frivolous lawsuit. This has teeth. I believe we're going to see some heads roll at Bethel. I really do. So, I mean, I tell you, I mean, it goes on and on and on. I'm not going to give you the whole thing here, but you let it go. But the Zalkin Law Firm is gonna be taking this on, and I really do believe that we're going to see some governing body members called in and see if they know anything about this. I don't know if Brother Barr is still alive or not. I think he's dead. I'm not sure. But they're going to question the governing body on this. If higher ups at the Watchtower, and this Brother Barr said that he informed the governing body this girl was being abused, and if they knew about it and did nothing, I don't know, it could be jail time. Let's see. I mean, I hope I'm not looking through rose-colored glasses here, but I like...
Brother Fearon?
Yes.
My legal question for that poor girl who was so abused and had to work there too is, if her alcoholic mother is still alive, you would have 2 witnesses in testimony.
Yeah, but the mother, she's probably so drunk, she probably couldn't remember anything.
Well, that might have been the reason for her drinking, and if she can testify for 30 seconds, you got it under the witness rules and under the U.S. court.
Well, I'll tell you, that's a good thought. That's a good thought, Pixie, and hopefully, I mean, it's with the Zalkin Law Firm, and these guys are good. They're not, they're not amateurs. These guys are professionals, and I mean, it could spell big time trouble for the Watchtower.
It sure could.
Yeah, boy. Well, thank you, Pixie. No, in fact,
Sure.
I read cases every week practically on here about child abuse, but this one really got my attention. It really got my attention. All right, go ahead. You're on with us. Speak up. Let us know what's on your mind. Let's hear from you. Yeah.
I think the only problem with a witness, especially with Watchtower, but definitely with a prosecutor, anytime there's a witness that they can see any excuse to discredit them, they will. I was a witness for a case that drug on for 11 years until all of the witnesses to the crime just basically gave up and wouldn't testify anymore because they had drug on for so many years. And I was the last one to testify for what happened. And I was on medication for extreme pain at the time. And when I was going to be called in for the deposition, I knew that I was going to be basically mocked. And, they would try to discredit me for the attorney for the, was being sued. And they brought it up. They asked me if I'd been under psychiatric care. They just try to discredit you any way they can. If you have any kind of drinking history, drug history, mental history, they will use that and twist it and try to get you to stumble and cry and falter and make you look like you're stupid and definitely not credible. And they attacked me on my pain medication. And I just looked at her and I said, you know what? I knew this was going to happen. I've been off my pain medication for 3 days, and you can grill me all you want, take me to court. My story won't change. And thank God they finally, paid the victim what was due. But the thing is, that's, what the lady said. It's a great point. But it's so easy when this is what you do for a living. It's so easy to make a credible witness, a witness who is telling the truth about what they know, what they saw, what they experienced. It's so easy to make them look not credible. Thank you, Rick.
Well, you're welcome, and I'm sure they're going to pull those tactics as well, Anne Marie. Well, thank you for weighing in with us. My goodness, there's so many things that are happening, and we try to get it all in here tonight. We got a lot of programming is coming up here tonight on the 6th Green. Just to give you an idea, at 9 o'clock, we have got in about an hour from now, we have Reese coming on. And of course, he's our 6 Greens conspiratorialist extraordinaire. He's going to be coming on at 9 o'clock tonight. And he told me today he wants to talk about 9/11. I told him to kind of go light with it, but we'll see what he has to say. He says he's got some information he wants to share with us. So Reese is coming on at 9 o'clock with Watchtower and the Occult Connection. He'll be talking about some of the occultism in the Watchtower too, I'm sure. And I'm sure he lives down in New York City. He'll have something to say where he was when 9/11 hit. So Reese is coming on at 9:30, but also on our news coming up in about 15, 20 minutes. There's so many young ones leaving the Watchtower right now. And we have a 19-year-old man coming in from California, young man. And he was just kicked out of his house. He's being shunned. They got a hold of me. A relative of his gave him my number. He got a hold of me, and he's coming on here tonight to tell his story on his trek in the Watchtower and what an evil organization it is. He's just a young man thrown out of his house, shunned by his parents. He's going to be talking to us tonight about 15, 20 minutes. So stay with us. We're going to get through the rest of the news here, hopefully. Let's go to the next story. We have got September 21 broadcast. The newest broadcast from Watchtower. Friends, it's all about money. They do a broadcast every month, and this one happens to be all about money. And, of course, who's in there talking about money but Anthony Morris? Oh, Anthony Morris, the man that was caught buying $1,000 worth of expensive scotch. So he's talking about how you can donate to the Watchtower. I'm telling you, it just gets disgusting when some of this happens. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to play you. You're going to hear it if you're on the radio. You're going to see if you're on Facebook and if you're on YouTube. You're going to see this clip. Let me get the clip here from watchtowerjw.org. And let's get this going. Let me see. We're going to start. Where are we going to start here? We're going to start. Let me see where we're going to start the clip. 35:45 seconds. 35:45. Give me 1 second here. All right. Well, let's see. Hold on 1 second, folks. We just lost that one. But let me get back in here and get it. My goodness, you hit certain things and things foul up on you. But give me a second here to get it. Jeez, I'll tell you, you go crazy. You hit one button, things can go nuts on you. JW, I hate even getting into jw.org. I don't know about you, but it drives me crazy. I hate to even watch their website, but I do it for the news. All right, let's see what we got going on. That's Loesch. Let's go to JW Broadcasting, the latest edition. Here we go. Here, let's scroll in. I've got to go to 35:45 in. So let's try that. And I want you to hear Anthony Morris. He's going to be asking for money, just what the Watchtower needs, right? So let's do that. That's going to be 35 minutes in and 45 seconds. So let me just scroll forward. Stay with us. You'll be hearing it on the radio. You'll be seeing it on Facebook. 35 minutes in. There's 25, okay, 35 in. We're going to start right about, let's start right about there, I would say. Listen in, you'll hear them.
Jehovah loves a cheerful giver. That was the subject of a recent morning worship by Brother Anthony Morris of the governing body.
We're going to talk about money. Now, the fact is we never beg for money, but that's not to say we can't talk about money in Jehovah's organization, the earthly part. So it is long-standing. There's a balance here. Going back to the Watchtowers a very long time ago, we have never considered it proper to solicit money for the Lord's cause after the common custom, referring to Christendom. It is our judgment that money raised by the various begging devices in the name of our Lord is offensive.
Well, he's saying that they never have to beg for money. By asking for money like Christendom does, it's offensive. Well, what do you think they're doing now? He's on here asking for money. Listen in. You're going to get your puke bags ready. I'm serious. This talk is disgustingly sickening. Listen in.
Unacceptable to him. It does not bring his blessing either upon the givers of the work accomplished or the work accomplished. So we do not need to be coerced into giving. We gladly use our money to support kingdom activities. So that stands to this day, but we'd never want to come to the conclusion we can't talk about money. Money has to be discussed in these last days. This system, it meets a response in all things. So I thought we'd take some thoughts from the Kingdom book, 3 reasons why we're willing and so willing to give. Some beautiful.
You see how sly this guy is. Did you ever watch the Trinity Network? Did you ever see that guy on there, Murdoch? Boy, he looks like a snake oil salesman. And he tells you, send your money in and God wants your money. In essence, Morris is doing the same thing. They're doing the same thing Christendom, as they call it, is doing. But yet they're telling you this, and at the same time, they're saying they're not doing it. That is cognitive dissonance at its best. At its best. Let's listen in.
Thoughts. Well, the first one is connected with doing what's pleasing in Jehovah's eyes. And finding the 2 Corinthians reference here is so crucial to helping people understand that we don't beg for money, but nonetheless, we have to talk about it from time to time. And here in the 9th chapter, donations and such was being discussed. And then this profound inspired thought, which is reflecting Jehovah's thinking, is in verse 7, 2 Corinthians 9:7. Let each one do just as he has resolved in his heart, not grudgingly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. So there we have it. We're happy to give to Jehovah. When needs arise and the organization brings it to our attention, for example, disasters and such, like we had at the annual meeting, they report about the increase in disasters and the millions of dollars that of God's kingdom money was used to help our brothers. But when it comes to giving, it's an individual responsibility, as the verse says, resolved in his heart or her heart, not grudgingly. And the footnote addresses the word reluctantly. So it's not like we embarrass people, beg them, look, you're well off, why aren't you giving more? Well, that's not their business. So that's not our business. We have to resolve in our own heart. So while we discuss money, we never come across like putting people and trying to get them to even grudgingly give just so we get the money. That's not this organization.
You know, I want to say that they're writing on YouTube. They're writing in here as I'm speaking. But, you know, one person's writing, it sounds like he's drunk. And it actually does. I didn't think of that, but, you know, he does like drinking that scotch. But it actually does. He's coming across as though he's been drinking. He's not coming across as very sensible to me. Boy, I'll tell you. Well, let's bring, we got a caller coming in, then we'll go back to it. Go ahead, you're on with us. What do you want to say?
So, Rick, he does sound like he's been drinking. I can't help it. I feel sorry for Anthony Morris because I get the feeling he doesn't want to say what he's saying. And, you know, and it's so sad that Watchtower as a whole, they always act like they blame Jehovah for asking for money. Then they have the nerve to say, we're not begging. We don't beg. We're not like the other false Christian churches. We don't beg, but we need your money. But they blame it on Jehovah, and they don't just use Jehovah's name as an excuse, like you're pleasing Jehovah. Jehovah loves a cheerful giver. We need your money. Oh, wait a minute. We need to use the scriptures to kind of turn the screw just a little bit more. No, they don't beg for money. They just use emotional manipulation and coercion. Then they actually say that they have spent millions of dollars helping people in disaster lands. Are you seriously kidding me right now? Thank you, Rick.
Oh, Anne Marie, it makes you sick. Okay, we got New York. Come on in, New York. Let us know what's on your mind.
The same thing that she said. My mother always said, oh, we don't beg for money. We don't pass the plate. I just hope all the witnesses that have passed on now, I hope they're up there in heaven, wherever they are. I just hope they can see what's going on with the organization now. Because my mother said many things, but this with the money. Oh, we never beg like the religious, like Christendom. They pass the plate. Jehovah's Witnesses, we never do that. I just hope they can see what's going on now in the organization.
Well, thank you, Shirley. Okay, you're on with us, California.
Hello, Rick?
Yes, Connie.
I wasn't sure if I came through. Hi, Rick. I was going to say, it's a bunch of BS. You'd have to see right through it. What he's saying is a total lie. I mean, this was after I left the organization, but, they even had ATMs at the circuit assemblies. Well, what the hell do you think he's trying to fool here, Rick? He's lying through his teeth. My gosh, and they've never done anything to help the brothers and sisters. And then when the brothers have come in to help, like if there were hurricane victims, they wanted the insurance money. So, Rick, I'll tell you one thing I can't stand are liars, okay? And this guy's lying through his teeth. And yes, he does sound like he's drunk. So thank you, Rick.
Well, thank you, Constance. My goodness, he does. And we're going to play a little more on him. Let's listen in. Let's see what he has to say. More on money.
Of course, Christendom, our experts at begging for money. So we love Jehovah. We want to be the kind of person that he loves. And you notice that beautiful expression, God loves a cheerful giver. One translation put it nicely, God loves people who love to give. And that's true. So we want Jehovah to love us. So this money we might have, whatever amounts, depending on our own personal circumstances, we're happy to give to kingdom interests. So that's the first one. We make these donations because of our love for Jehovah. Now, the second one, this is interesting, a heart-searching principle found back in the Mosaic Law. Turn to Deuteronomy chapter 16, if you would, please. And Deuteronomy 16. And you'll see the connection. While this applied to the Jews at that time, you'll see how it applies to us in our day. We're going to read verse 16 and then verse 17 of Deuteronomy 16. 3 times a year, all your males should appear before Jehovah your God in the place that he chooses at the festival of unleavened bread, the festival of weeks, and the festival of booths. Now notice, and none of them should appear before Jehovah empty-handed. The gift that each one brings should be in proportion to the blessing that Jehovah your God has given you.
Well, there you go. That almost sounds like tithing, right? He's reading from the book of Deuteronomy.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
That scripture refers to little turtle doves and stuff. The sister here, my mother would have been 103 yesterday, and the Bible study sister wanted to take the modest cottage of a 102-year-old sister, my mother, who was baptized in 1936.
Unbelievable.
They made a $3.5 billion in the Kushner deal in Brooklyn, and they want to take from a widow and an orphan.
Pretty sick.
I have to ask a little Bible question.
Sure.
In the New World Translation, did they take out the verse that says, don't take advantage of the widow and the orphan?
Well, you don't hear it too often from Watchtower. You don't.
I think they took that verse out. I could be wrong.
I think it's still in there. They just don't work with it. They don't like that scripture.
But $3.5 billion in that Brooklyn deal, and that wasn't the entire deal. And people are hungry in our nation. People are getting evicted in our nation. I'm doing okay, but I'm not doing as great as I was. And they are asking for money when they have catered meals and all their suits and everything are dry cleaned, and they get barbers and things to dote on them.
Well,
my goodness.
And they wear beautiful suits. You know, I go to J.C. Penney. I get a suit. I get a sport jacket. You know, but I keep...
They have the best. I know the best. My dad used to preach in the best. I know a good gentleman's suit when I see it. They have the best, sir.
Yes, they do. And pinky rings, and some of them have Rolex watches, too. Yeah.
They do. And the other thing, you know, back in Russell's day,
He said in his own material that if they ever ask for money, the organization would be done.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, we've heard it, and they're saying, well, they're not begging. They're using the word not begging, but they are asking. Hey, it gets worse. Wait do you hear more of this talk? It gets worse.
Oh, wait, can I say one thing before you go back?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but two things I have to add, please, that I noticed. I don't know how many times so far that Anthony Morris has thought we're not like those other churches. Why do they even have to bring up what other religions do to try to make himself look good? And how many times did he say, Jehovah loves a cheerful giver? But I swear I heard him say, Jehovah loves a cheerful giver, and we want Jehovah to love us, don't we? That's how you talk to a little child when you want them to do what you want them to do. The other thing I noticed, I just remember when I used to be in the organization, I look forward to, being reminded of how blessed we were to be Jehovah's people, to know the truth, quote unquote, to be in Jehovah's organization, to be among the whole association of brothers. I felt encouraged. I don't hear anything about, oh, brothers and sisters, Jehovah just loves you. We're going through hard times, but we know that we have the paradise to look forward to. And there's no encouragement. There's no praise for being faithful to Jehovah or to the Watchtower. No praise for being loyal. It's all about money, money, money. We're not begging, but we need money. Jehovah loves a cheerful giver. We want Jehovah to love us, don't we? Thank you, Rick.
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Anne-Marie. I just want to make one comment. Brandon, I see you're on the Six Screens video suite. You're coming on about 8:30. So hang in with us, maybe a little earlier, but 15, 20 minutes, you're going to be on with us, Brandon. So hang in there with us. We'll be getting your interview coming up at about 8:25, 8:30, somewhere in there. All right, let's go. I want you to hear more about this. Andy kind of hit it on the nose here. Why even bring up Christendom? No, notice what he does. He brings it up again. Listen to Brother Morris. I do think
Hello?
he's. Yes, go ahead. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, you're on. Yeah, you're on.
Hi.
You're on with us.
Hi. My name's Anna. Hi, Rick.
Anna, how you doing? My goodness, you sound really excited tonight.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of excited to have a chat with you. Yeah. No, I just want to say that's just about the worst chat talk that I've ever heard from Ant-Man. And he's famous for doing some terrible talks, demanding money from the poor. If you're poor, it's not an excuse. We still want your money. I mean, there are Jehovah's Witnesses in some of the poorest countries in the world. These people are living in mud huts. But he doesn't care. He's a multi-billion-pound organization, but he wants their money. I remember on one occasion I heard someone talking and saying, I think it was him actually, that if you were very, very poor, what the thing to do is to section off a little part of your garden, grow some vegetables, sell them down at the market, and donate the money to jw.org, or the society, as they used to say. And it is in line with this, and the terrible photo they had with the widow looking into the empty fridge, all of that stuff. I mean, it used to be, they quietly kind of asked you to donate if you had the funds. Now, being poor is not an excuse. We want your money. They're sinking lower and lower. And it's got to be apparent to people now that they're just another fraudulent cult,
Well, Anna, you're absolutely right. And my goodness, I'm so glad. Sounds like I detect an English accent. Is that true?
Yeah, I'm calling from London.
Wow. Well, we're always glad to have.
From London. Yeah.
Always glad to have. Well, glad you picked the phone up and gave us a call.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anna.
I also called in to listen. I wasn't sure if you were going to have a talk about Minimus. I didn't know if you were.
Well, yeah. Well, in fact, I'm going to mention a little bit about him. Yeah, I'm going to mention a little bit about him. So you stay tuned at the end of the broadcast here. I'm going to bring him up. Yep.
Yeah. And I really, all my condolences, Rick. I'm so sorry. I know you were close. And I really enjoyed the little piece that you put on Reddit about Minimus. It was very touching.
Well, thank you, Anna. That was good. No, he was a good friend of mine, and I'm going to speak a little bit about him before we close the program down here tonight on JW World News. So you stay with us.
Oh, yeah, I will. Thank you so much, Rick.
Well,
and keep fighting the good fight.
Well, good for you. You're a good lady. Don't you ever change. Thank you, Anna. All right.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that's Anna out there in London, England. My goodness gracious, we got people calling in from all over the world. We're so glad that's happening here tonight. But let's get back. Let's get back. I mean, I want you to hear a little more on Morris. This guy's driving me nuts. It's driving you nuts too. Listen, he wants more money.
So you have to let that sink in. And this is what Jehovah wanted to be conveyed to the Israelites who would attend these festivals. None. Now, he didn't say if you're well off, you've had a great year, as opposed to some that were poor, you still had issues back at that time, even though it was Jehovah's nation. But he said none should appear empty-handed. So that takes in all of us, whatever our circumstances are, whether at Bethel or in the field. Jehovah doesn't approve coming empty-handed. See, and what would help us to not come empty-handed, in this case back in Israel or in our time either? Notice verse 17, and this is a lot to think about. The gift that each one brings should be in proportion to the blessing that Jehovah your God has given you. So there we have it. You stop and reflect that they were supposed to do that, and we can do the same throughout the year. Reflect on the blessings that Jehovah God has given us. And you got to take time to do that. You have to give that consideration.
Well, let me just remind everybody, and everybody knows, I know I'm preaching to the choir. This is the man that was caught 2 years ago in a liquor store in New York State buying a case. In fact, I guess it was a case, $1,000 worth of Macmillan, was it? Yeah, Macmillan Scotch. That's a very expensive whiskey. It's like well over 100. It was about $100 a bottle. I checked it out in the liquor store. It's $100 and it goes up from there. So this guy's talking about no matter who you are, whether you're rich or poor, even the poor ones should bring, don't come empty-handed, he's saying. Make sure you bring something to the Watchtower. A few more minutes and we'll cut this off, but I want you to just share a little bit more because I really want you to get to feel sick over this, because many people are.
The gift that each one brings should be in proportion to the blessing. So adding up these blessings, then we're happy to give out of our material possessions. So profound thought there, and something to reflect on so that we don't find ourselves, when it comes to contributions on a monthly basis or whatever, empty-handed. Well, I'm doing so much here and there. Well, money meets a response in all things, and you have to take that into account, even if we're in the poor range. Now,
did you catch that? What Christian organization would just make a statement like that? Money's to be given, even if you're in the poor range. Friends, when people are poor, they have no money. They haven't a hard enough time just paying their rent, buying medicine, buying food. So he's saying here, and I mean, I'm not in any way over embellishing this, but he's saying even if you're poor, don't come empty-handed. What would you do if you were poor and you had 3-4 little children and you hear this? How are you going to feel about that? That is despicable. Listen in.
The third one is connected with our love for Jesus. Let's turn to John chapter 14, if you would, please. John chapter 14. We give and have voluntary contributions because we love our Lord Jesus. And notice what he stated here, John chapter 14 and verse 23. In answer, Jesus said to him, if anyone loves me, he will observe my word, and my Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our dwelling with him. So appreciate how Jesus put it, if. So it's a responsibility that falls on us individually. But if we say we love Jesus, and we're not like Christendom with this proclamation of their love for Jesus, they really don't even know the real Jesus, frankly, till you get an accurate knowledge of the truth. But if we're in the truth, we're dedicated, baptized servants of him. If we really love him, we're going to observe his word. Now, that means not just carrying out the kingdom, putting our time and energy into it. It also means money. See, we are willing to donate money to support the worldwide work. We're not ashamed to admit that this takes money to have these things operate, branches, and supporting all of the preaching work, the kingdom work, all these other initiatives that we've had in recent years. It takes money. You can't.
Well, how about the lawsuits, Brother Morris? Could you address?
Yes.
Could you address?
I need the Celtic whiskey about now.
Yeah, we could all have a shot, Pixie. I'm telling you. Geez, why don't you share a little bit of that scotch, Brother Morris? But Brother Morris, let me just ask you, really. What about the lawsuits? We're talking millions of dollars, millions and millions of dollars. Don't you want to address that? I guess not. A few more minutes. I'm going to cut her. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. This man has pushed me way over the edge at this point. Please let me say this one thing. In trying to explain the true tenets of the true Christian faith, which is following Jesus, in chapter 14 of John, specifically from about verse 17 through 26 or so, it is being very clear where Jesus is hammering home that we must listen to him and follow his word. And he said so many times in that particular area of chapter 14 of John, if anyone loves me, he will observe my word, and my Father, we will both love. In other words, if you follow Jesus, and he and his Father will love him, that you come to me first, and my Father will love you, and both of us will come and make our dwelling in you. That is indwelling of Holy Spirit. This is just an example how not only will Watchtower use the name of God, whom they call Jehovah, and use Jesus as a backup, as a stamp of approval to validate their request for money, and more money. Now they're actually turning the scripture that specifically, if anybody wants to read it in context, he is talking about following him, and then if you follow me, anyone follows me, and my Father will love you. I and my Father will love you. First that. We will come. And this is about indwelling of Holy Spirit. And he managed to twist it around to make it seem like if you love Jesus, if you want to obey the scriptures, you will give us your money. This is just a blatant, disgusting, sick example of how they take the word of God and twist it to suit their agenda. Thank you, Rick.
There you go.
I had to rant.
That's all right. There you go. Well, I mean, that's the truth. That's the truth.
I totally agree.
You totally agree. Well, why don't you come on and tell us what you think? Wow, we do have one brother there,
I think she covered it pretty good right there.
Well, she did. Yeah, she's on the ball.
Beautiful.
Yeah, but thank you very much, caller. Thank you for calling, checking in. Okay, we got another minute or two of this. The best is yet to come. Well, let's listen to the end of this. It's brutal.
Go to people that you buy things from and say, well, look, this is a nonprofit organization. You're trying to shame them, and what can you give it to? No, they want their money to be paid for the various things that we have to use to accomplish Jehovah's work. So something to keep in mind, those three things there, our love for Jehovah, we want to do what's pleasing to him. We count our blessings from Jehovah. Then we have our love for Christ Jesus, and we want to do whatever we can. So how you do it with the financial contributions, that's a personal decision. And Jehovah dignifies us with that. We never want to be shaming somebody that we think they should be doing thus and so. That's a personal matter. But keep in mind, sometimes if you are poor, remember the widow. So she didn't come there to the temple empty-handed. She didn't have much, but Jehovah loved her. Jesus loved her for giving what she had. So even when we're poor, we're expected to give monetarily. And it's because we love Jehovah, love Jesus, and we appreciate all the blessings we've received during the year and are grateful.
All right. Well, I mean, there you go. So basically, what I got out of that is, there's a lot of wealthy witnesses too. And it seemed like the talk was slanted toward poor ones giving. That is disgusting. Poor ones don't have the money to give. That is absolutely disgusting. Okay. Any comment? You're on with us. Go ahead.
Rick?
Yes.
Rick, I'd like to make a comment.
Sure. Go ahead.
I was going to say, this is a classic example of Watchtower, the governing body members having absolutely, they're not even in touch with the real world, Rick. They're not. They have no clue what it's like to run a household, have a mortgage, have car payments, support a family, food on the table, get the kids to school. They have no clue about any of that. That's number one. Number two, this is a classic example, Rick, where they use the fear, obligation, and guilt trip on the JWs. They really do. And I have a question for you, Rick. I've been wanting to ask you this for some time. Do these governing body members, do they receive a monthly salary or biweekly salary, Rick? Do you know? I've always wondered that.
Well, yeah, they do. They do. It's never been divulged. It's some say, well, they make the same amount of money that a Bethelite makes. And right now, according to information I got from recent Bethelite pay stubs, they're making approximately now maybe $150 a month. But the governing body, even though they may make that, they have so many perks, Constance. They have their clothing, right, their laundry, everything's paid for, their food. It's like the president, really. He doesn't have to walk around with money in his pocket. Everything is taken care of, Yeah.
Well, I mean, like a Rolex watch itself is at least $10,000 on up. So,
right.
He's making more than that. And then Morris, my understanding is Anthony Morris, the one who was just speaking, his family background is the Morris Tobacco Company, the corporation. So, honey, he's not hurting. He's a millionaire right there. He's not hurting at all. So I don't have any sympathy for them, Rick, and I'm just so glad to be out because they're just a bunch of beggars. They really are. So thank you for having this news story today. Thank you, Rick.
Well, I wanted to play that whole thing. Thank you, Constance. I wanted to play that whole thing because it's really disturbing. And, I have to say that, the Watchtower is not transparent about their finances. You give money to the Watchtower, you have no idea where it's going. In many churches, they will read you a financial statement every month in detail, what they spent for this, what they spent for that. And they always will put in there, any good Christian church will say, we spent $300 on feeding the poor and helping the poor ones pay their electric bill in our congregation. Do you hear anything like that from the Watchtower? Absolutely not. The Watchtower doesn't help people. Churches help people. They help pay their gas bill, their electric bill, sometimes their car insurance. They give them gas money to go to work. The Watchtower gives you diddly squat, nothing, zero. Yes. I'm telling you, it's disgusting. And, that's the Watchtower. No, we don't beg for money like the churches of Christendom. They beg for money. We don't. My goodness, that's all they talk about here lately.
Hello, Rick?
Yes.
Hello, Rick. Hi, this is Hitley.
Yes, Hitley.
I just wanted to say that I agree with you because back in the 90s when a great deal of witnesses were going through financial upheaval because New York City was going through their fiscal crisis. And quite a few of them lost their jobs, particularly those who worked for not only the city government, but the state government, and to a certain point, the federal government. And you know what Watchtower did for those who lost their jobs right in the Brooklyn Heights area? They did nothing to help them. They didn't want them to even glean or get any food or maybe any paper goods like paper towels or napkins, table napkins, or even toilet tissue, bathroom tissue. And they told them not to do it, especially if any of the witnesses might have lost maybe a week of meetings.
Yeah.
Everything was dependent upon their meeting attendance, and if they went out in field service, how many times they commented at the meetings, and all this other kind of garbage. They didn't really care. They did not care. And so some of them, they had their relatives go to some of the, as they call Christendom churches, to give them money before some of them were, even though some of the witnesses have applied for unemployment or applied for public assistance before all that came in, they, had their relatives who were non-witnesses or NIs, never ends, and went to the churches and made sure that they got not only food and other paper goods and generics and everything, but some cash. So it's something. Watchtower just doesn't give up about anyone. So I said to them.
There you go.
Thank you, Rick.
I'm with you. Thank you, Hillary. Well, that's Hillary out of New York City as well. Yeah, I just had a couple other things I was going to bring up, and then we're going to go to Brandon. He's been waiting on here. We're going to go to Brandon, our guest coming in tonight before Reese comes on. But hang in there with us, Brandon. Brandon, we'll get to you very shortly. But a couple of things I wanted to bring up. I want to mention Minimus. I also wanted to mention another thing that I did get an email from a woman, a Jehovah's Witness woman, and I want to get your thoughts on it. If anybody out there heard of this, I want you to let me know. I'm trying to find out. I've been doing some research this week. I haven't been able to find it out. But anyways, it's concerning a headstone, concerning like a tombstone or a plaque at a grave site. Now, a woman got a hold of me this week, and she wanted to put a plaque, a little plaque on the ground at a gravesite. You've seen them. There's a little plate they put in the ground with the name of the person, when they died, a little saying if the person had it. And evidently, one of the witness family members said that, no, that would be unacceptable because the Watchtower evidently is suggesting that you wouldn't do that. Now, has anyone heard of that at all? I wanted to put the call out because the woman was quite concerned about this. So if anyone has heard that the Watchtower is now suggesting you don't even use a tombstone or some type of a plate or a plaque at a gravesite, I'd like to know that. I haven't heard of it. I think this witness is just making this up. Some witnesses do that. They assume things. But if you have heard of that, I'd like to have you tell me.
That would be ridiculous. I have a relative who's a funeral director and a witness. I've never heard of such a thing.
Yeah, I haven't either, Pixie. But, the Watchtower is changing radically. And,
Yes.
Sometimes they put trial balloons up in certain parts of the world and people kind of get ideas. But if they're playing that game, that's pretty heinous.
Now, out in Iowa, the cemeteries there have a brass plaque that goes flat to the lawn. They don't have the marble stones like they had in the Victorian times.
Yeah.
So some of these more recent cemeteries have a brass plaque that goes flat with the lawn. And that's how they do it in some parts of the Midwest now.
Oh, yeah. Well, according to this witness woman, it's she's more or less suggesting that it be against Watchtower's rulings to do that. That's pretty sick.
That would be an unmarked grave, and that wouldn't be proper in any belief system or in any cemetery. They want the spots to be marked when it's purchased for your beloved person.
Right. Well, the Watchtower doesn't have beloved people, so maybe that's the premise.
There you go.
Maybe that's the premise that they're going on. Well, thank you, Pixie. And also, I wanted to bring you up to speed, and then we're going to get to Brandon. Brandon's coming in from California. Hang in there, Brandon. And I just want to mention about Minimus. My goodness, I got so many emails and people writing me on Facebook and all over the place about Minimus. He was the prolific writer on JWN, that's JW Discussion Board, where a bunch of ex-witnesses write in there all the time. And many of you guys know what I'm talking about. Maybe some don't, but it's like Reddit. It's a posting forum where people post. But minimum, he's posted close to 5,000 posts. He was prolific, and everyone loved Minimus. He had the little icon of a little M&M, a little red M&M. And Minimus, we miss you. I tried to get a hold of family members. I don't want to go forward and share a lot of information about Minimus because that would be unjustified for me to do that. I would want permission because Minimus, I'm going to tell you, I knew Minimus when he was in diapers. I'm about probably 8 years older than Minimus. Minimus was 75 years old. I'm sorry, 65 years old, 65 years old. And I can remember picking him up with my uncle to bring him to the meetings in Lowell, Massachusetts. I knew his mother. His mother died recently. I can tell you that much. She was 85 years old. And I told Minimus, don't try to convince your mother otherwise that the Watchtower is not truthful. I said, 85, let her go. And she died. She died in the last couple of years. I knew Minimus' brother. Minimus had a business, and Minimus' business, well, he couldn't really let ones know he was leaving the Watchtower, even though near the end they got clues because he wasn't showing up at the meetings. But he did a lot of business with the Jehovah's Witnesses, and it kept his business really flourishing, really doing well. But in the last few years, when people found out he wasn't going to the meetings, he was somewhat inactive, the business dropped off for poor Minimus. But he was a good friend of mine. I tried to contact members of his family this week and very unsuccessful in doing that. I tried to contact an elder, a former elder as well in the same congregation that is now out. I didn't hear from him, but I'll keep trying because I'd like to know. I still don't know the reason why Minimus died. All it said in his obituary was the fact that there was unknown causes. So I'm not sure what happened to Minimus, but he was a good man. And I tried to get him on the 6 screens numerous times, but he just would not come on. But Minimus, we miss you, and may you rest in peace and keep waving that flag of victory. And another thing I want to share too is Minimus, even though he was mixed up on spirituality because of the Watchtower, Minimus nonetheless did have a feeling for God, and he shared that with me. So Minimus, rest in peace, buddy, and hopefully we'll see you again someday. All right, now I'm going to tell you another thing that's going on. We have got a person coming in here right now. I want to talk about youth leaving the Watchtower. You see, Watchtower doesn't have any programs or anything that can work with children. And because they don't do that, there's many youth right now that are leaving the Watchtower. There's nothing in the Watchtower for them. But, they say when children leave the Watchtower and the children don't want anything to do with the Watchtower, that, it's Satan. Satan's the ones that's making our children leave. But why don't they look at themselves? Why doesn't Watchtower look at themselves rather than trying to come up with some scapegoat? It's not Satan that's making children or kids leave the Watchtower, young ones. It's the Watchtower themselves. And a great example I read online here, the Watchtower organization is like a restaurant that keeps serving the same bland menu, even though many of the patrons don't like the food and they're not coming back to buy more food. Instead of adjusting the menu or admitting that the chef isn't as good as he thinks he is, the owner simply blames the customers and claims that the patrons' taste buds must not be working properly. Well, that's what the Watchtower does, right? They're saying, the children are leaving. Satan must be getting to them. It's MTV, it's video games, it's rock stars, whatever it would be. But why don't they look inward, like this restaurant? If people aren't coming back to enjoy your food, get a new cook. Don't blame the people's taste buds because they're not tasting the food properly. So I wanted to bring that up. But we got a young man. We got a young man coming on with us. His name is Brandon. Recently, he was thrown out of his parents' home. I'm going to say, Brandon, you're 19 years old. As you said, I'm going to bring you on the suite right now. Now, remember, Brandon, to mute your microphone when I bring you on. Brandon's going to be coming on with us. Brandon, I'm going to invite you on. So mute your microphone when you come on. Remember, you have to talk on that telephone line I gave you. So we're going to bring Brandon on. He's coming in from California, young man. We want to talk to him. We want to see what's going on in his life, why he left the Watchtower. There's Brandon right now. He's coming in now. Brandon, go ahead, hit *6 on your telephone pad. That should bring you in talking. *6 on your telephone pad.
All right.
There you are. We can hear you now, Brandon. Yeah, speak right into your phone so we can hear you nice and loud and clear. There you are.
All right.
Oh, there you are. My goodness, there you are, a young man, and there we're waving in the crowd. We got a lot of people listening in. They're coming in from all over the world, Brandon. They were kind of excited to meet you tonight. So, Brandon, you are or was you're leaving the Witnesses now. You're 19 years old. Well, what got you thinking that the Watchtower is kind of a bad organization?
One thing that really got me from the time that I was only like 6, that's when I first started going to the meetings, at the people there and that congregation, all of them were judgmental. I remember only being like a couple feet tall, and then witnessing my parents getting treated like crap from the rest of those witnesses. And time went on, and I grew up, and eventually I started getting the same treatment.
Bad treatment. Hey, Brandon, I'm just going to ask you one thing. Go down to the bottom of your screen and mute out your mic. Mute out your mic.
Am I echoing?
Yeah. Mute out your mic, like I told you.
All right, I just did. Is that better?
Okay, is the echo gone? Is the echo gone now, folks? Brandon shut his microphone off. Is the echo gone? Yes or no? Somebody come on and tell us. Yes, echoes. Okay, it's gone. Okay, Brandon.
Echo's gone.
Okay, thank you. All right, go ahead. Brandon, speak. Put your phone in front of your mouth there so we can hear you better. We want to hear you. You got a lot to say, so let us know what. So you're getting out of the Watchtower. You feel these guys were on your case. Tell us about your mother and father. They're still in?
Yeah, they're still in.
Well, tell us about them.
They won't talk to me. Well, my dad was raised Catholic, and my mom, she was her dad, my grandpa Tom King. She went to meetings for a little bit when she was a child, but then my grandpa, he realized himself how screwed up the organization was, and he left. So my mom, she was out for a long time. She even called the witnesses a bunch of baloney and garbage. And then, one day my mom married my dad, and she ended up following my father and went back with him. Pretty much how that all went down.
All right, so you're not a witness. Do you have siblings?
I have one sibling, and she knows, and I can tell you for sure, she's only 14 years old, but she knows exactly what's going on, and she quite frankly doesn't want anything to do with the religion either.
All right, so let's just go back.
She's still with my parents. She's still with my parents, so she has no choice but to keep going until she's of age.
So when did your parents say you had to leave your house?
It was right around the time that I wanted to actually go and do something with my life.
But
when I was shunned. That's when I was shut out.
Well, when was that? How long ago?
3 months ago.
So they told you flat out that you couldn't live with them?
I told them of my goals. I told them I wanted to be an auto mechanic, and I was gonna go get training, and I was gonna go move out and live down in the area that I was gonna get that training from, and they called me a traitor for wanting to do it. And right after I left the house, I was kind of homeless, so I had nowhere to stay. So I went and I stayed with an old witness couple for a little bit, and I can tell you it was not the best time. The whole time I felt like I was being controlled, and told that if I do this with my life, you'll be drawing away from Jehovah. Your spirituality will be ruined. I had a lot of nasty and hurtful things said to me, and and it had already clicked before, since the time I was only 5, that this organization that I was going to, it's no good. Who wants to live a sheltered life their entire life and not be able to do anything at all except serve an organization where all they want is your money, or they talk bad straight to your face, and they don't think about consequences. They certainly don't apologize to you, and when they do, they feel like they're forced. I could get very, very deep into how I was raised with the witnesses, but it would take hours on end if I were to talk about it. But that sums up that part.
Well, you do realize there's a lot of young witnesses leaving right now, Brandon. You're not the only one. You're not the only one at all. There's tons and lots. In fact, so many youth are leaving right now. It's really alarming. When they get to a certain age, like you probably left when you were 18, and when you get to about 18, you can kind of flap your wings, but you're still under your mother and father's roof. It made it hard because you became homeless. So it does make it a little rough around the edges. But so, I mean, they didn't like the idea you were going to be an auto mechanic.
My dad, he was an auto mechanic, so he never turned down the idea, but it was mainly the rest of the witnesses in the congregation that I was near.
So they didn't encourage you to go to school to learn that? I mean, how bad is that?
They tried to tell me that I'm, if I do what I'm doing, I'm only going out into the world to ruin myself, and that I should just stay up there with them and pay them $300 a month to live up there and work in a job that's owned by them. Basically, do you get what I'm saying?
Did they have their own business, you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So that's a shame. That's a shame, Brandon. So they wanted you to work for them, and you didn't like the work that they were doing.
No, they wanted me to live a secluded life, just like you were telling me the other day when we were talking on the phone. They want to keep you locked away from the world till the very day you go to your grave. That's true. That's more than true. More than 100% true.
Well, I believe every word you're saying.
I'm glad somebody believes me.
Well, you have a lot of friends on here tonight.
I feel like I'm glad I can be on with people who I can, try and relate to a little bit, because, I'm at a point in my life right now where I'm trying to get out of a screwed up organization, and I got those people spying on me. I'm a nice person. I'm not mean to anybody. I don't like to shut anybody out, but I'm being faced with having to do that right now, and all of them are confused. Now all of a sudden they care, and now they're trying to seek me out.
How are they spying on you?
When we were talking there on the phone the other day, basically they're finding anything that they can, like an excuse. They're finding an excuse to get to me, whether it's just like, oh hey, you forgot about your mail, or you forgot this item up here when you were with us, that kind of thing. All so they can see what I'm up to.
Well, what they're trying to do is, don't you answer any questions from these bums. They're trying to find out if you want to be a Jehovah's Witness still. And if you say no, you're not disfellowshipped, right?
I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm keeping them blocked out like I made the decision to, and they'll start coming up to the door enough that to where at some point they'll realize that I become inactive, as they say, or they'll say, yeah, you're disfellowshipped, or a popular word that they love to do. They love to call people apostates. They saw what I was doing right now. They'd be all over me. They'd be calling me an apostate. It's a name you see, this is stuff I'm trying to get away from. And
do they? Have they?
Quite frankly, I know.
Have you heard the term PMO?
I've never heard that term before.
Yeah, well, PMO, that's a person who is physically in, mentally out. It's an acronym. Physically in, mentally out. So that's you're more than that. In fact, you're out for good. You're what they call a POMO, physically out, mentally out. You're a POMO. I mean, these are terms we use in the ex-witness world, not to confuse you, but you're considered in their world as an apostate. I'm an apostate. Most of the people listening to the program, they're apostates too. But Brandon, can I open up the lines? Can we bring some people in to talk to you a little bit?
I'm an apostate too, Brandon.
Fine.
Okay, we got another apostate on with us. Go ahead, apostate.
I just got to say, bud, I've been through all of this stuff that you're talking about. I was born in, raised, and you're on the right track, bud. We're all here to support you. I'm happy you're here. Thanks for being on tonight.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, what we'll do is, before we let you go here, we're going to have another 10 minutes or so, but before we let you go, we want to make sure they can get a hold of you on Facebook and write to you. And so I want you to meet some new friends, Brandon. That's what's going to really help you. You're kind of out there by yourself, but we're going to talk to you. We're going to encourage you. We're going to get you on the right road to recovery here, because you're a young guy, and I want you to be the best mechanic there ever was. There's nothing wrong with that. My goodness, we need mechanics, especially today. You got to go to school, and you got to learn computer technique and all of that. We're proud of you, Brandon. You're doing wonderful. You keep doing what you want to do. We got Brandon on with us. Who wants to say hello to Brandon? Go ahead.
Rick?
Yes.
Rick, it's Steve. Yeah, Brandon, just do what you're doing. You want to leave. Don't worry about what they think. Don't worry about what they say. Don't worry about what category they put you in, because you don't live in that world anymore. Whatever names they want to make up, it doesn't matter. You're out. You live your life, get an education, make quality friends, which you will, in the automotive field or whatever interests you're in, hobbies or whatever. Just make quality friends. Choose your friends wisely, people that know more than you do. And if they're quality, they'll teach you, they'll help you, and do whatever you want. And you know what? A few years from now, you'll look back and you'll be happier now than you've ever been in your life, and you'll be successful. So don't worry about whatever names they want to tag on anybody. Don't worry about, and just walk away. If they want to If they say they're spying on you or whatever, that's stalking, that's harassment. Take license plate numbers down, whoever it is, call the police and give them the information. And if they really want to get nasty, if you can, get a lawyer, somebody, and file a restraining order against every elder at that hall.
For sure.
And they're a bunch of chicken shits. They'll stay away from
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. My whole life I've been, I've just been, I was never encouraged to make any friends at all. I was kind of like,
they want yes men. They don't care if you really have any friends. That's just a front. They want you to be a yes man. They want you to do everything they tell you to do and just promote the organization, and that they're not there, despite their literature, despite the talks, despite everything. They are there not for you. They're there for themselves. They really do not apply the things that they talk about. It's just a facade. It's fake. So when you realize that, and you've seen it, and you don't expect it. Don't expect it. Don't wait around for it, because you'll never get it. And if you look around, I'm sure you know brothers at your hall or other halls that are used and real kiss asses to the society. And that's the way they'll stay. Unless you do the same as they do, I guarantee you will spend your entire life wasted in this organization. And 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now, you'll look around and you'll leave with absolutely nothing. And I'm speaking from personal experience.
That's exactly what I don't want.
Right. And I guarantee you, this will happen to you, because it's happened to me. I know tons and tons of people all over the place, witnesses, former witnesses. I saw a lot that went in the organization behind the scenes. I guarantee you, if you stay in this organization, years from now, you'll look back and you'll say, I have nothing, because it happened to me. I have no friends. I have nothing to show for it. And they tell you how terrible the world is. I guarantee you, I take any one of my chosen worldly, so-called worldly friends, or people who are not witnesses. I'll put them up against the witness, elders, Bethel, whoever, governing body member, any day. You can't expect something from a bunch of frauds and facade organization, and don't let them deceive you with that. Well, all the literature, we love you, this and that. It's not true. It's not true.
It's not exactly. It's not true, and quite frankly, anybody that in that congregation, I knew two people out of my whole congregation that I was going to. Both of them 10 years older than me. I thought I could try. Hey, these are great. These guys are good people. I can trust them. They seem like a friend to me. And I thought I could tell them anything that was going on. I thought I could trust them. One time, I was learning to drive, and I'd gone with what they call a worldly person. My buddy, we'd gone out and onto a dirt road out in the middle of nowhere in the wilderness, pretty much. And he let me drive. He let me get some practice in. I was so excited from that day. The next day, we'd gone to a meeting, and this is just one of the screwed up stories. I had gone to a meeting. I got to one of my buddies there, and I told him, "Hey, I was driving on a dirt road the other day. I had a lot of fun, and I even showed him a video." And then the next Saturday after that, because I was going out in service. The next Saturday I had gone and they did their 10-minute morning session. And right after that, one of the elders had me sit down with them. And then he asked me, are you driving? Because if you are, then you know, because if you are, then you can lose a lot of, you'll lose a lot of your privileges that you in this kingdom hall. And I thought in my head, how the hell did he figure out? Later on, I figure out, oh, my buddy, the person who I thought I could trust, went behind my back and, you know, went and told the elders on me.
He ratted on you. Hey, Brandon, we've got so many people on here. We got to cut to the next caller here. They got so many people, and we got time restraints. We've got area code 10.
Just look up cults and mind control, and you'll see the organization right there. And just do what you want to do. That's all.
There you go. Good admonition. Thank you, Steve. Hey, we've got a number of people want to talk to. We got area code 140. Come on. 140. You're on with us. 140. 140. You're on with us. You want to come on and speak up? 140. All right. Let's move to the next caller. Let's move on to the next caller. We've got.
Thanks for letting me speak, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, Brandon, that's good. That's good. We got a number of people want to talk to you, but I'm not sure they're in the green zone. That means they want to speak up. Go ahead.
Can I speak up just for a moment?
Oh, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead, Randy. Yep.
Yeah, I just wanted to share with you. You know, I understand your concerns about them coming and spying on you and everything, but just remember this: you do not have to disclose anything to them. They ask you questions. You can just tell them you don't want to disclose it, or if you really want to be crafty, you can answer a question with a question, and that way you're not. You know, that's what the attorneys do all the time, and that's the way to do it. And that way they can't do anything to get you disfellowship. And I'm so sorry about your parents. Did I understand right? They are shunning you some to a point right now, or not?
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
Well, don't give up hope, because they can wake up. Because I mean, I'm in my 60s now, and it wasn't but just a short time ago I was raised in it, and I woke up and I got out of it. So they could do it. They could do it too. So, but before you get off the phone, please share with everyone, you know, kind of what geographic area you're in, and maybe your Facebook, if you want to, your Facebook, because a lot of us would like to reach out to you on Facebook.
I see this thing here on the 6 screen thing where my video's on. I can type in the chat box there my Facebook profile if any of you want to follow me.
Yeah, we'll do that. In fact, yeah, go ahead and do that, Brandon. Type in there and then let the audience know too. We have there's more than just listening in. We have YouTube listening in, we have Facebook listening in. But put it in and then we'll announce it. Go ahead and put that in. And in the meantime, I'm going to let people know what's going on. Go ahead, type it right in there now. We got Reese on deck. He's going to be up with us here momentarily. He wants to talk all about 9/11. He's coming from the belly of the beast. He'll be in here very shortly. We have Brandon on. He's a young witness. He doesn't want to be a witness any longer. You type it in, Brandon. Go ahead, put it in there so we can see it. He's doing it right now, and then we can give you his address. We can let you know how to get a hold of Brandon. Boy, yeah. So
I'm going to say one thing to Brandon. I think he's very brave. And Brandon, you have, with your youth, you have all the time in the world to be whatever goal you want to be. There are Pell Grants. There are trade schools. There are all kinds of things that you can be if you do a little internet research and find a path and do it. You have all the time in the world. God bless you.
Hey, Brandon.
I agree with that. Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, how's Holly in Nebraska? Joy was coming in, and just like to say to Brandon, as the lady before said, thank you for sharing your story. But I do have a question. You know, are you in a safe place now? Because you mentioned that your parents had basically thrown you out, and you had spent some time homeless. Are you safe now?
Yeah, as you can see, I'm safe. I got a good area, and I'm on my own living a free life. and I don't have to subject to any of those people. I can finally do my own thing. You know, if they can say, they can do whatever they want to me, but I'm not gonna let it tear me down mentally anymore. I'm getting help. I'm trying to make myself better, and I know it's gonna be a very long path, but I'm taking these steps now to leave this screwed up religion and a screwed up past life, and try to, close a bad chapter and open up a good one. Any way that I can, anything I can do.
Yeah, I understand that 100%. Like I said, I just want to make sure that you are in a safe place right now, because, that's going to be really important for your ability to be able to leave, the religion and to start out on your own. And you're very brave, and I really want you to finish school. The lady before also mentioned, different grants and stuff, and being raised in, the religion myself, and I loved school. I loved learning. And that was something that was basically discouraged. I really wanted to go to college, and that was definitely discouraged, as you know. And it takes something away from you. It takes away your hopes for the future. And it's hard, but it's not defeating, because I think you do have the strength to go ahead and do what you want to do. If it's mechanic, or you can do whatever you decide to do. But just don't give up. Keep working at it, and I do have faith that things are going to work out for you.
Thank you very much. That really means a lot. And when you were saying they discourage you from wanting to do that sort of thing, they had that talk with me. They said, towards the end, they said to me, "You're an unbaptized publisher. You're not completely fit with the truth yet, and you're wanting to leave and go out into the world there and do what you want to do." But one thing that they talked with me about was saying that the governing body says that us as witnesses shouldn't, go and go to college. It's something that's good. They try to say college is a very bad, horrible place. You'll be alone, and you'll have to listen to you'll have to listen to and witness horrible things while you're there, and witness sexual immorality, all that stuff. It doesn't matter where you go. That stuff is everywhere, and they were throwing excuses at me. Anything they could do to manipulate me, to try and get me to stay. A lot of the witnesses knew that. Well, I'm going to tell everyone now, I was born, raised with autism. Sometimes it takes me a little longer to figure things out, but they knew that about me, and they thought they could trick me. They thought they could tell me things that would make me want to change my mind and not want to go and do what I'm doing right now. But I could tell everybody here that I was smart enough, and I knew exactly what was going down and what they were doing. And it's just like I said when I came on earlier. It's just something really this whole religion, all these people, it's something really screwed up, and it's just something I'm done with. I don't want to have anything to do with it anymore. I feel like I could live a much happier life and not have to seclude myself away from the world. You know, why would a world be created if you can't even go and explore it? What's the point? You know what I mean? But anyways, I know Rick has got other people trying to come on, so I'm.
Well, what we're going to
Some
do?
people with autism are really super brilliant. Are you good at computer coding at all?
I'm not the best with computers, but there is some things that, you know, when I put my mind to it, I am really good.
Well, some OSPs code really well, and they end up making more money than anybody else. So if there's a free test to know if you have that aptitude, you might look into that.
Yeah, he's going to me. He's going.
Now, and I'm on my own. I have plenty of those opportunities, for sure.
Go for it. I'm very proud of you. You're very brave, and just get your path and just one day at a time, and you'll make goals that you never thought you could, and you'll have a happy social life, and you'll have a happy personal life, and the world will be your oyster.
There you go. That's good. That's good admonition. Hey, Brian, this is Rick Fearon here at the Six Screens. We'll get time for maybe 1 or 2 more calls. We'll have to make it brief. But what I'm saying is, if you're around tonight, our programs go on pretty much all night long. If you're on tonight around 11 o'clock, that would be 8 o'clock your time. Midnight, I'm sorry, at 9 o'clock. If you're around 9 o'clock, why don't you call the number in once again? There's another program we have called Healing After the Watchtower. Whoop. Well, I don't know where Brandon went on us. He he left. But I'll tell you what, I don't know if he shut down or went down. I'm not sure. But we'll get back. We'll get Brandon back on, hopefully, on the Healing After the Watchtower program. I'll give him a call and see if he can't come on with Apostle Babe and Daniel. I don't know why he left so fast. He kind of went fast. He waved goodbye, and that was it. Maybe he had to go somewhere. I'm not sure. But anyways, look, I know people want to write to him. And Brandon, if you're still listening, I'm not sure. But he done good. In fact, Dallas says he done good. Yes, he did. Okay, Brandon's still there. Brandon, if you want to come on back on tonight at 11 o'clock, dial the same telephone number. I'll give you a call in a little while and tell you about that. But in the meantime, if anyone wants to get a hold of Brandon, are you on the line, Brandon? Speak up. Can you talk to us on the telephone line? I'm not sure what happened, but what we'll do is, Brandon.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
I'm still here. I just turned my video off, and I'm just gonna go straight back to the text thing.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. So what to do? Type in your how they can get a hold of you, and if someone wants to, if they're not on the Six Screens video suite, and they want Brandon's Facebook, and they also want his email, write to me at jwworldnews@gmail.com, and I'll get that off to you. jwworldnews@gmail.com, and let's really write to Brandon. Let's let him know we think of him. He's a great guy. And if you can come on, Brandon, later on at 9 o'clock your time with the same telephone number, if you can do that, you can come on another program. They'd love to talk to you. Think you can do that?
Yeah, no problem. One thing I'd like to say just real quickly. I mean, there is my email, but my Facebook profile, it's pretty simple. It's just my first and last name, and my profile picture is a picture of me standing with a black shirt on, a black pair of pants, and my hat's on backwards. I got red hair. It's pretty easy to track down.
Brandon Williams. Brandon Williams is what you want to look up on Facebook. Yeah. And as far as your email, can they write to you on the email you sent me?
Yeah, I don't mind.
All right. Well, yeah, write me at JW World News, and we'll give you his email. Listen, why don't you come on at 9 o'clock? If you can do that, Linda James, she'd love to talk to you. She's from California, the same state you live in, and they're out there. They're coming on at 9 o'clock. So why don't you come on their program later and finish this, okay?
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Thanks, Brian. You did an excellent job, Brandon. Excellent job. Thank you. You're a real trooper. I know you're going to do good in life. You just stay what you're doing right now. Don't let these guys interfere with you. And we'll talk more later on. I'm going to give you a call after the program, okay?
Sounds good, Rick.
All right. Good man. We love you, Brandon. Keep waving that flag of victory. All right. There you go. Yeah, we got to go. We're moving on to Reese. We had a lot of people who wanted to come in and talk. So sorry we couldn't get to everybody. It's like anything. We get time restraints. But I know, maybe listen in tonight. He'll be back on to the Healing After the Watchtower program at 12 o'clock tonight, Eastern time. It'll be 9 o'clock Western time, California time. But for all those that are on YouTube and Facebook, if you want to listen in tonight, and you say, I want to hear more of these programs on 6 screens, because when we leave now, JW World News goes off, then it's not on the air. You have to listen in other ways. If you want to listen in, you can dial the telephone number 727 731 6701. 727 731 6701. If you're on YouTube, just look at below the YouTube screen. It'll give you all the directions and how you can listen in and get into the video suite and all of that. And if you're really trying to find out how you can listen in, go to 6screensofthewatchtower.com and scroll down to it says hit the video link. It gives you the telephone numbers, everything you need. So we want to thank everyone for coming in tonight. Now we'll be back tomorrow with our 6 Screens Sunday edition. We're looking forward to that. It takes on a more spiritual side. It's a more theological side. So if you have theological concerns, join us tomorrow. We have a number of programs tomorrow beginning at 1 o'clock. Join us then. Thank you, folks, for coming in tonight. And the last one, Leaving the Watchtower. By all means, please turn off the new light. We're ending the stream right now. Thank you guys for coming in on YouTube. All right, we're ending this YouTube stream. That's ended.